Hi, Katie Price here. Welcome to day 4 of my exam marking video diary. I know the lighting is not that flattering for this video, but I just figured that I'd have a bit of variety at different angles of my hotel room while I'm making this video diary for you. So what I want to talk about in this video is how to compile and structure an answer to a question that has multiple sections to it, essentially. So I'll give it to you in the context of the exam question that I'm marking for the item that I'm marking, and then it's really down to you and your teen as to how you can apply it to any exam questions in particular, but assignments, essay structures, or any task that calls for more than one element to an answer. So here's what I want to say. In the item one of the items that I'm marking, it asks students to provide 2 responses. So it's for the short play script, and it has an ending statement or an ending sentence that is said by one of the actors, and it asks or says to the students, how can this be portrayed? Give 2 ways that this line could be put across. Because obviously they just have a line written in text. They don't know what the tone or the intonation or the meaning is behind that in terms of how the character is saying it. They have to be using their comprehension to decide what 2 ways that could go. Now, that's just one element of it. Obviously, then they need to be able to put that across, and it requires them to give different tones, different gestures, different facial expressions as to how the actor could do it. But the point is, it has to give 2 ways. Now, what I've been seeing a lot, particularly today, it seems to have stuck in my head, so that's why I want to talk to you about it, is students who do really well on one of them and the other one is pretty weak. So they really go to town on one of their endings and how the actor could do it and all the different gestures they could use and how that would link together. If you remember on one of my previous videos, I talked about linking statements together and the cause and the effect and how they work. Go back and look at it if you haven't seen it before. It's super useful. But the point being, you really want to try and give the 2 sections or the 2 parts of the response to a similar level, if possible. And now I know that, as a student, you might be able to think of one really good idea and really flesh it out, make it super brilliant, and the other one you might struggle with. I get that, okay? And that's just how it is. But if it's about allocating time and space to an answer, you need to try and make them pretty equal, because what I've seen happen is students have a really great first part and a really weak second part, and what that does is that immediately brings them down to a C grade. Because a grades A and B in this particular mark scheme, and obviously it might be different for different, tasks, exam questions, etc. But for this mark scheme and for others that I've seen, and I'm sure there will be more in the future, grades A and B need to cover certain criteria for both parts of the response. So what happens is, if it's all there in part 1, seriously, I've seen some amazing A quality parts, and then the other bit is super basic, and so straight away that A is kind of brought down to a C, because it's only at the C grade that it starts to give credit for just one element or one part of that response. So my advice, if your teen has 2 parts to a task, or if you're a student watching this and you get an exam question that asks you to give 2 parts to your response, try and make them both as good as each other. Try not to use all of your time up on one part and leave nothing for the next part. If they're 2 totally separate questions, or really very clearly divided, then chances are you'll have a separate marking guide for both of those sections. But if it's 2 parts within one question, they're both going to come into the same mark scheme. So if you want to be getting those top grades, you need to make sure that both of the responses are of the grade quality that you want to be going for. So that's my advice for today. If you have any questions or any feedback on any part of this exam video diary that I've been putting out so far, then please email me at katie.price@rocksolidstudy.com.au. I always love to hear people's feedback. And if you want to check out any of the other videos in this series or on my blog, it is at www.gradetransformation.com.au/blog. I'll see you here tomorrow. We're coming towards the end. We're on the downward slope. For you guys, it will be next week as I put out each of these videos once a week on my weekly blog. Until then, have a fantastic week and I'll see you soon.